Sports teams go through a rebuild. You'll see a lot of these teams at the bottom, and they'll stay at the bottom for several years, get all the best draft picks, and then come out ahead a couple years later because they're building a foundation on which to succeed from. A lot of teams do this. They sit at the bottom, collect those draft picks, grow those players, build a team that is a championship type team. Lots of teams like this. And they build through the draft. They build from the ground up. And I look at this as an analogy for life. Because in life, you're going to have ups and downs. I've been through them. I'm going through them. There are struggles that you run into. And you have to decide if you want to be middle of the pack. Because a lot of sports teams, they stay in the middle of the pack. They never get to the bottom of the barrel. They just always sort of stay there. I look at perhaps the Vancouver Canucks as an example, a hockey team in my hometown. Most of the time, they're just middle of the pack. They don't really want to rebuild. I think it's only now that they're actually trying to maybe rebuild, but they're still trying to be better than the worst teams. So they're not really going through, they're going through like a semi-rebuild, but not building the kind of team that would win championships, not that I can see. So they always seem to kind of stay in the middle of the pack. They get middle of the pack draft picks, just middle of the pack talent, And also, I think they just seem to be happy with that because they get ticket sales and they're happy with just getting by, right? And I know I'm being critical of my team or the team in my hometown, which I've grown up my whole life. But I'm pretty passionate about the idea that if you're not going to win championships, you might as well be rebuilding until you can get to that level. That means just roll into a ball and lose every game? No. I mean, you have to think strategically. You need to decide that you might have to lose for a few years in order to be the best. And that's just the reality. So, I mean, I look at life, like, you can be the middle of the pack, you can be average, you could be rebuilding, which means you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're at rock bottom, you can rebuild and rise like the phoenix out of the ashes by working on yourself, improving little pieces of yourself to get out of this. But of course, you have to do a serious rebuild. It's not like you just put pieces to place and then, you're successful. No, you need to do some serious development and serious inner work in order to build the team that is perhaps yourself. Your business, your career, your life. Your life is essentially like a business. It is, because you're here for a finite amount of time, and how you conduct your days will dictate where you go in life. And do you just want to be middle of the pack, or do you want to do something meaningful, something fulfilling? Because then that's a championship life. A championship life is one that you can look on and say, I'm excited that I'm winning every day. If you're not winning every day, you're in the process of being either average or you're in the process of rebuilding. You have to decide for yourself. A lot of people don't want to rebuild. A lot of people don't want to start from the beginning. So they stick with that average job and they're happy with that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being middle class. Nothing wrong with that. If that's what you accept and you're happy with that, great. But I'm looking at the people who are sitting at the bottom and they're wondering, how do I get to the top? How do I build a championship team? It's all about the rebuild. It's all about the personal development. It's all about taking care of yourself. It's all the little habits that can form a successful life for you. But a lot of people aren't really willing to do that rebuild because it's not comfortable. You have to go through years of shame, years of being at your worst, years of being disgusting to others, complete useless to others. You have to be willing to go through that. Yeah, you have to. And if you're not, well, you probably won't rebuild to the level that you want. And as I go through my life, I look at, well, a lot of areas: career, relationships, social, health, all of that. I'm in the process of rebuilding all of that right now. And it is a daily struggle. It is. It's a daily struggle to grind out an existence, right? Putting this video together. Hey, this isn't something that just happens. I have to think about some things. I have to think about championship teams. I have to think about this idea of what I want to talk about in this video. This is part of the rebuild. This video is a rebuild in itself. It's not easy to rebuild. No. And you can't take it for granted. Now, there's a lot of people out there who will fake it until they make it, right? And they've essentially hit rock bottom, and instead of struggling to rise up or struggling to develop themselves or going through the process, they just pretend with all the bells and whistles that are available to them that they are successful. You'll see a lot of that on fake Instagram, fake social media. These are people who just pretend that they are what they are not. A lot of people. And they can successfully carve an existence with this. Nothing wrong with it, actually. I mean, if they can somehow turn fake success into real success for them, look, they're just using the advantages of the internet. There are a lot of people out there who are looking for success cases. And this is where you have all these examples of people who have built six-figure businesses. And then they talk about their six-figure businesses and convince all these other people to tune in. Lots of that going on. As someone who's in marketing, who's been in marketing in the corporate world, and who looks at the marketing landscape, I'm kind of disgusted with the lack of authenticity in those kinds of people. And those people know who they are. And I think being authentic is more important. Being authentic even in your rebuild. So you're rebuilding. Okay, that's fine. You're admitting that. That's great, because it's better than pretending that you're an amazing team. Pretending that your life is amazing. I don't want to tell people that my life is amazing, because that would not be true. No. There's a rebuild phase. And maybe the best thing is just to say, quite honestly and quite transparently, I'm going through a rebuild. It's a little bit humbling, I know. It's humbling to say that you are in the depths of despair and you are rebuilding. Not very easy to be vulnerable like that. Can you be vulnerable like that? Because that is going to get you out of whatever situation you're in. Is understanding that this is the beginning of the rebuild. And it's a journey. And then day by day, you pick away at the things that you can. Because there are actually quite a lot of hours in the day. There are. It's 24 hours. And you break it down. That is a lot of time. But then the years will feel shorter and shorter and shorter as you get older. When you're younger, the days go by quite slowly and the years go by quite slowly, actually, when you're young. It's all very slow to you. As you get older, the years go by fast and the days are still long. Actually, the days become even longer, I feel. But the years go by really fast. So if you want to rebuild, you have to look at the fact that years go by quickly. Start putting pieces together. What you're going to do in year 1, year 2, all the different things you're going to do to develop a championship life. How many people even talk about this? They don't really talk about life like a sports team. They admire sports teams that are winning, but they don't want to put in the work to make their own life like that championship team. Like a lot of the teams that I'm seeing out there today are doing quite well. You have like the New England Patriots, you have Golden State Warriors, these are good examples. Chicago Bulls back in the day, these are all teams that developed winning teams. They put the pieces together to make it happen, to become unstoppable. New England Patriots, do you think that was overnight? Tom Brady wasn't just a success overnight. He was a diamond in the rough, and he worked and he worked and he worked and developed himself. And that's why that team is so powerful. A lot of the development behind the scenes, a lot of the development that people just don't want to do, that's the development that you need to do in order to rebuild. It's the stuff that I have to do to rebuild. Everyone goes through this part of life, okay? It's like a stock market. You have peaks and valleys, right? Of course, you want your trajectory to be going upward. It might go up and down, but you want things to progress upward. And how does that look? Well, figuring that out is pretty important. That's what a rebuild is all about. So look at your situation. Look at what it is you want to do for your rebuild. Because that is going to be critical for your entire life going forward. Are you ready to make some serious changes? I mean, that's the only way you're going to be able to get out of this. So, the rebuild. Think about that in terms of championship teams. Think about all the teams out there that strive to get better. They're clawing their way up from the ashes. They're at the bottom, and then a couple years later, they rise up to the top like underdogs, and they become successful. A lot of hard work. Look at it like an analogy to life. And that is hopefully the start for your rebuild. Until next time, toodles.